Good morning, guys. I am doing something a little different today. Instead of editing my video tomorrow, which is my birthday, and I don't want to spend 4 hours on the computer trying to edit the video, I'm just going to do this as I go. So bear with me. I always hate it when I watch YouTube videos and I hear, I always think to myself, edit that out. So bear with me today if you hear a few things that you don't normally hear. I want to get this video out to you on time for Thursday without having to work all day tomorrow. So here are my top 5 tips for making sure you don't have any wrinkles in your decoupage, or at least as few wrinkles as possible. And the very first one is you want to get yourself a good napkin decoupage glue. There are a couple of them out there. This one happens to be my favorite. Now this is in German. This is from a company called Viva Decor. I believe I got this in Joann's, and then I loved it. I fell in love with this because I was using Mod Podge, which was very thick and heavy and gooey. And I actually had someone ask me one time after I decoupaged something using Mod Podge, they said, "Oh, how did you get that to stick to the plastic like that?" And it was a glass bottle. So I'm not wild about Mod Podge, but it's also so thick and creamy that when you try to work with napkins, sometimes it can tear. It can even cause a lot of the wrinkles. So the very first thing is get a napkin decoupage glue. Now, this is the second tip that I want to show you that can really help you with problems when you have wrinkling. And this, I call this the dry method. I place the napkin down over a dry surface, and here's where it can really help to use napkin decoupage glue. When you place the napkin down and it's dry, and you take some of the napkin another thing I would have edited out, you take the napkin decoupage glue, and it is best to use one of these bristle brushes. By the way, I apologize if you hear dogs or cats or the doorbell or the phone or anything. I'll try and turn this off and get right back to it. And you want to take your napkin and start in the center with your decoupage glue, and you can already see that is a nice flat surface, because sometimes when you put the napkin decoupage glue down first, then lay the napkin down, if you don't place it down exactly in the right position, you can already create or cause a wrinkle. And you want to make sure you go from the center out and get these edges down. And I want to quickly just cover this so that I can show you the third tip. And that third tip, I can see I'm overlapping here. That's fine. I'll file that away when I'm done. The third tip is you can actually put a lot of your decoupage work in your oven. So you don't want to set the oven to anything higher than 175 degrees. I am here in the States. I will look up what that means Celsius, because when I do these videos, a lot of times I get people from other countries. Whoop, sorry about that. That's another reason why I don't like to do these things live. So here's the here is the conversion. 175 degrees Fahrenheit is what I would set my oven to. Celsius, that turns out to be 79 point, these are 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's what I could see, and I don't know if there's more that goes off the screen on the computer or if that even matters. So here's the way that I do this so that you don't break any glass or harm any of your projects. I put this, now it's damp, right, with the decoupage glue, and I will take a cookie sheet and I will put parchment paper down. I'll place the item, I'm going to, you can lay it down or stand it up. I'm going to place it in the oven, but the oven is cold right now, which is what you want. If you put this in a hot oven, it could crack the glass. It could actually cause you a lot of problems. So you put it in a cold oven and you set the oven to 175 Fahrenheit. That's here if you're in the States. If you're in another country where your oven is set by the Celsius scale, 79 point, all of those 4s. And I put it in the oven. When the oven dings to let me know it's reached my temperature, I then turn the oven off and I leave this in there to cool off. And I believe what happens is the decoupage glue kind of contracts. It's almost like it's melting, and it will pull, it never tears, it will just maybe microscopically stretch the napkin a little bit so that if you started with any of those wrinkles, it kind of calms them down and it pulls them out. And I'm going to put this one in the oven and continue on with the video. Now this is just a canvas. If you're working on a box or some other, normally a flat surface, this is what this works best for. You can do the Ironon method, which is where you would cover your whole surface, and always make sure you have not too much decoupage glue, but some people have a very light hand and they try this method and say there were spaces where it didn't adhere properly after I ironed it. So in essence, what I'm going to do is let this dry. Cover your whole surface with your decoupage glue. Make sure you use a lot of decoupage glue, although you do also want to smooth out any lines that you might have in here. And I'm going to let this dry, and then I'll come back and show you the iron-on method. And I probably should have started with a small canvas just to show you this. And always make sure you get these ends. So I'm going to put this outside to dry. It is going to hit 90-something degrees out there today. Yuck. I don't get along too well with summer these days. So I will put this outside, let it dry, and I'll show you another tip while this is drying. So I want to show you how, when you're working on a rounded surface, you can avoid wrinkles. And because I spray painted this, you could say it's a terracotta pot. I spray painted the inside with something that is going to protect this planter so that when you water it, the water doesn't go through and affect your paint and your work. And then I spray painted the outside, and I don't want to put this in the oven because there's chemicals on it. I'm not going to like the way that smells. But because this is a rounded surface, we can't do the iron-on method that easily. And in these little areas, it would be very hard to iron. So, and I'll get right back to that as soon as that's dry. What I like to do is take the napkin, and I don't want to try to fit this whole thing on the surface at once because that will definitely cause wrinkles also. So what I want to do is tear out smaller pieces of the napkin and line them up next to each other. And I don't like the hard edges here, so, and there's the oven. Let me turn that off. And that can cool down in there while I'm working on this. This is how I do a lot of my projects, by the way. While one thing is drying or in the oven, the other one is getting prepped, one thing's getting painted, cleaning the house, doing laundry. I'm sure you all know exactly what I'm talking about. So let's separate this napkin so that you just have the top ply. It's funny because I want to dampen my fingertips a little bit. You could dip them in water and then dry them off a little because you don't want to saturate the napkin, but you do want to pinch it in these corners where it's reinforced like this, and that makes your fingers a little bit tacky and it pulls everything away. So I'm not worried about this edge here because that's going to be filed off anyway. Now what I'll do here, for this particular planter, just to show you how you can also avoid wrinkles on a curved surface, what you want to do is place your napkin decoupage glue down just over the area where you're going to place the napkin. Just let me get a little more decoupage glue. This feels like it wants to roll, so I'm going to put a couple of things next to it to secure it. Now I'm going to carefully place the napkin over where I just put the decoupage glue. Now I've seen some people pull on these, and I even saw a video where a girl pulled on it and tore it, and she said, oh, that's okay. And I thought, well, okay. I don't want to tear it, so what I want to do is secure this without messing up my work. So I am taking a piece of saran wrap, plastic wrap. You can even use plastic sandwich bags if you want, trash bags if you have them on hand. It really does help if it's clear though, so you can see what you're doing. Anyway, you want to place it down over, and especially on a curved surface, if you grab these ends, pull tightly and press down, and then take your fingers and go in and remove. Let me see if I can close up on this so you can see this. You see there are some wrinkles in there. Because the napkin decoupage glue is already on there and we have the saran wrap, you can gently rub those out with your fingers. Pull the plastic away, and then you've got this really nice decoupaged area where you can still bunch up the napkin, the plastic wrap, and go over it. And now I'm going to put this aside to dry. I don't think my project in the oven has dried yet or cooled down. Obviously you want it to cool down. So I'm just going to come back in a little while when everything is dry. I'll finish this pot and I will show you how to do that last method, which is using the iron. So we took this piece of canvas out of the oven. I put it in there, which some of you probably would say, don't do that. This is why, because it warps it and it melts it. It's still okay for the purpose that I'm going to show you. This is back to the Ironon method. You have to make sure you have parchment paper. That's the only paper that will not burn. And you can also use your regular iron. I hesitate to tell you what temperature to put your iron on because everybody's irons go to different temperatures, but I will say this can take a whole lot of heat as long as you have the parchment paper. So we place the napkin over the area where you, have dried decoupage glue, preferably the napkin. Then you want to put your parchment paper over that, and then you can take your regular iron or a craft iron, and I've had this on for a little while. It's on high, and you actually iron the napkin right onto the surface. I really should be using the household iron for this, because with this tiny thing it's going to take me all day. But I'll put a link down below. This actually does come in very handy when you're working on smaller pieces, like if you're working on a box. Usually works best on a flat surface. And it's also great if you have to get into a corner or a crevice. It's great to get in there. You could see that tip. I won't touch it because it's very hot. In any case, you can see that ironed that down, and I don't see a wrinkle in sight. I'm going to work on the rest of this, and then I'll show you what happens when we put another coat of decoupage glue over the surface. Something else I wanted to mention. Another problem could be if you finish ironing and then you go to put a coat of napkin decoupage glue over this. If you missed a spot with your ironing, that could actually tear your napkin when you go to put the next coat of decoupage glue on. So you just want to make sure you're very thorough in covering all of these spots. You can see I'm doing this in real time here, so I'm not speeding up the camera or slowing it down. This is just about all that you need, all the speed that you need. And always, always make sure you get those edges. Now, when you think you're all done, you want to make sure that you hold this in a very bright light and check to see. You can feel it, but you can also see it. It looks like right here, yeah, I can see it. The napkin isn't sticking down. So I went over that area too lightly, and I'm just going to go over it with the iron again. And if you don't use this parchment paper, you will run the risk of burning your napkins, because I have done that before. And now I'm going to add that coat of decoupage glue over the surface, and just like if you were doing the dry technique, because in essence this is dry, although it has adhered to the surface now, you still want to start in the center, work your way out, do smaller strokes, and just expand your area a little bit more. Again, you want to work with a lot of decoupage glue. And as long as you're gentle with this and you don't try to do too big of a space at once, even if you did miss an area underneath with, whether it's not enough decoupage glue or you missed it with the iron, you can still get this to adhere to the surface beneath without wrinkling and without tearing. I have had some people write to me and say, wrinkles came up when I did this, and right now it looks to be a little bit wrinkled. That doesn't stay that way once it's dry. They do come out once this dries. So I'll put this outside to dry. It's going to dry quickly today, and I will go back to another piece. So once this is all ready to be top coated, by the way, you can see I used a different napkin in here. I want to top coat this now, but I wanted you to see how using that saran wrap on a curved surface like this can make a very big difference. And here's something else you may not know. Whenever you use a very high gloss, actually any gloss, over a surface, it highlights imperfections. If you see a wrinkle really standing out after you've put the high gloss on, it's because the gloss will magnify any imperfections. It actually magnifies everything. So you can do a couple of things. You can either add a little glitter there, tie a little twine around here if you'd like, or you can just leave it be. So I'll be back later with this piece to show you how it turned out. And here I am back with the bottle, and this is dry. I again will work from the center out, gently pushing that decoupage glue out to the edges. I will dry this and add a top coat over it. So I will put that aside to dry again. Okay, so I'm outside, and I am bringing this outside to show you in the harshest, strongest light possible how these came out using the methods that I mentioned. You can see I put glitter on here and high gloss. The grass looks like it's painted on. There may be a wrinkle or two in here, but it is very, very hard to see. So that's how the planter looks, and this is where we use the saran wrap. Here's the canvas, and you can see that the canvas I put a high gloss on also to highlight any imperfections. Really hard to see wrinkles. I think there's a few like over here somewhere. But that Ironon method is also a great method to avoid wrinkles. And here's my Krabby bottle. That's also on a green glass background. So, something else I wanted to mention, when I talk about this Viva Decor decoupage glue, I am not getting paid to say that. It genuinely is, to me, the best decoupage glue for napkins out on the market. So I use it whenever possible. I do sell it through my links, which go through Amazon, but when you shop through my channel, it really allows me to keep making the videos. I get a very small percentage, but it's just a big help to those of us who work over here at YouTube. And I try to go through other YouTubers' links to get things that I need on Amazon because I watch their videos. I know how much work they put in, so I like to support them too. So I try to put links down below the videos and on my Facebook page for you guys to go over and purchase what you need. But aside from that, these are my top 5 tips for how to avoid wrinkles with napkins when you are working with napkins, and I get a lot of those questions. And sometimes, guys, these processes, they take a little bit of time. You might find that you're better at one than the other, or you prefer one over another. So just try and see which one works best for you. And in the meantime, thank you so much, my friends. I look forward to making another video for you guys. And thank you once again for subscribing. Those subscriptions are everything to us over here at YouTube. And I will see you guys next week with another video. Bye-bye, my friends.